For the last 4 days, my son Andrew and I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. That's right, 4 days, 3 nights with a 9-year-old. And we had along the trail a lot of people asking us, how did we do it, and what did we pack, and how do you take a 9-year-old on a trip like that? So I thought, for my memory, so I can get it right, because we adjusted throughout the time, and here are our packs as we finished our hike. Andrew's pack. We have the bear bell on the very back. We put on some extra straps because his REI Passage 38 pack has the little things to be able to do it. So we put on some elastic straps so we could hold this right here. It's his long sleeve shirt because it was hot and he didn't wear his long sleeve shirt much. It spent most of the trip right there. We had maps here. There were also a set of maps in my backpack, but we primarily used his. His sleeping pad. And then if you come around the side, he had his water bottle tucked in here, his Liberty water bottle, and then we had cards that had emergency contacts, and even on the back side, some first aid stuff, as well as whistle blows for SOS when you need help. And then day 1, 2, 3, and day 4 of what we thought ahead of time we would do. We didn't perfectly follow this, but it was really, really helpful, especially for him to know what was coming up next. And then obviously he had his whistle sitting right here in case there was a need for an emergency. So what do we have inside his pack? By the way, we try to keep his pack at about 12 or 13 pounds because he only weighs 70. So you can't put much more. So in the top, what was in his pack? What did he have? So as we pull this back, if I can get this right, we had this. He had a set of clothes right in here. He carried, for both of us, the clothes that we would sleep in, which was a pair of sweats and some long sleeve shirts for each of us. And then we had this. We had jackets and hoods. Just in case we get cold, we had a jacket for each of us. A jacket that would still keep us warm if we got wet. And then there was a pair of gloves, like gardening type gloves, really thin in there for each of us. And then also some like a baklava for me and a head warm thing. And because I'm a cyclist, so that's what we used. One for him and one for me. And they're just kind of like this neoprene thing. And then the last thing that he actually had in here, inside, was just a really light. It's actually my sleeping bag that I borrowed from a friend, super light. Oh, I forgot. On his hips, he had, on this side on his hips, he had a multi-tool, and on this hip pocket, he carried a compass. And then his poles were these telescopic ones, so we could adjust them down to where he was really, really comfortable. My poles didn't have straps like his did, and I kept leaving my pole behind me when we hiked. I'd stick it in and it was gone. And I wish that I would have had straps like this, like I did when I used to cross-country ski. I think it would have been helpful. So, let's look at what Daddy carried. Daddy had to carry the rest, right? Because you need to keep the boy in a very, very comfortable weight. Especially at early experiences for them in hiking, they need to have a really good time. On the very top of our pack, we actually had a solar charger here and a lantern to be able to have in the back. It's actually an inflatable lantern, but to have it inside the tent, it was very, very helpful. And then right across the top, underneath these electronic devices, is where I kept some of my own technology stuff, like my like flashlights. I had charging cords because we had the solar charger. Because if you're hiking on the Pacific Crest Trail, there's an app called PCT Half Mile. Boy, it's real Half Mile PCT. It is a really, really good app, but it requires GPS the entire time. But that's all it requires. It doesn't take any cell service. And I had a headlamp, a fun little light for Andrew that actually could show what time it was. But you know what? We never used that. And then there's a couple other flashlights here in this very, very top part. Going down the front, we had my sleeping pad. Have this, and that is a separate bag for your snacks, for the Cliff Bars and other things that he will eat and you will eat, because he was able to pull this out for me. And then, so it's like, hey, stop, okay, go ahead and pull out the snack bag, let's have a snack. And it was easy to pull out rather than getting all the way down into where your food is stored inside your pack. And then we had over here on this side is just where we kept tools, little pieces, parts, and some carabiners, and some things to replace things that would break. My knife, I actually usually carried it in my side pocket of my pants. Some twine always comes in handy. A lot of extra twine, or if you want to, you can live your life on just paracord. But I use the paracord to be able to hang the bag of food up between two trees every night. So I'd climb a tree or find something to stand on and hang it from tree to tree, and then right in the middle with the carabiner I could hang our bag of food. I had some more twine that I never used. I also have a saw should I need it, and never did. And what else did I have in here? I had some fire starter stuff, but we never used it. And then this is twine that's just left over from the trip. On this side, which I found myself using often, not only the broom to sweep out the tips every morning before you roll it up, but some toilet paper and even some special soap, hand sanitizer, for after you're done with your pooping job. A shovel to dig a hole to poop in, obviously, and then be able to cover it back up. And if we needed another shovel for anything else, we had it. And then, just like Andrew, I didn't really end up wearing my shirt very often either. And so it spent most of its time back here. Aqua socks would get wet at river crossings, and if we played in a lake at night. And so it's good to leave them right out here to dry back out before we got to our next campsite. And tied the sleeping bag onto the bottom, and that was the bag that he wore. On both sides, I had Nalgene bottles. There are better ways to do it and lighter ways to do it. That's just how I did it though on this trip. And then if you come around the front, this is where I carried this. So this is right behind my head, where I could pull it off really quickly and get right to it if I needed to, which is the first aid kit. Then I had this little kit that was just full of all of the other odds and ends, and I was in and out of this bag all of the time. There's just some wipies with 30% DEET. You don't want to go more intense with that with kids with sensitive skin. Had an ankle wrap and an emergency blanket. We never used either one, but if we were sprained an ankle or twisted, having ankle or knee wrap would have been good. Mosquito coils. We never used them, but we had them. And moleskin, which I used all of the pieces. I didn't like the pre-cut moleskins. I really like to be able to cut my own to the size of what my blister is. And these were also really, really thin. And I find that I like the thicker moleskin better. Some more bug spray. Ibuprofen. Always good to have some because something starts to swell on us old people, right? And then, of course, the stuff that Mom would leave a note with what the boy should take for his allergies. And then there was, so there's both Zyrtec in here, as well as this pink stuff, Benadryl, because you get bug bites. One night I was swollen up really big, but by morning after I'd taken some Benadryl, the swelling went down, and life was pretty good. What else did I keep in here? I kept the sunscreen, and you really, really need chapstick because lips get burned really easy. Chapstick that has sunscreen. And on our trip, we went through this entire tiny little bottle. I would suggest 2 for the next trip because we ran out of sunscreen. Rain poncho, which, oh, I forgot. We had a rain poncho in the top of his bag too. These are my sunglasses and then a mosquito head net. Let's go back to Andrew's pack for a second because I totally forgot about getting into his, I call it the hood. I don't know what the technical term is for it. The bonnet. We had a head net for him also for mosquitoes. He had his own rain poncho in here. And what else did he have? Oh, this is where he kept his radio and his headlamp. And I believe he has a flashlight. Yeah, he has a flashlight in here too. Pretty much the exact same things that I have in my very, very, very top, right underneath these chargers. He had the exact same mirror image of that. Coming across the front, just the other Nalgene bottles. I had a thing of bear spray. Again, it's to spray at the bear. It's like mace or pepper spray, but for a bear. So you spray it at the bear. It's not like bug spray, where you spray it on your kids. No, no, no. Don't spray it on your kids. If a bear is charging you, that's when you need that. So let's get to what's inside the pack, shall we? One of the easiest ways, especially with this backpack, to get inside is to unclip these 2 pieces. Newer backpacks are doing this now, and it is like the most fantastic idea. Is instead of having to always dig down from the very top of your pack, you can get quick access at another empty bottle in here. And then I actually started placing, you probably are not able to see from this camera angle, but I found throughout our week that I needed to adjust how everything would fit in the pack and how it would fit right. And this is pretty much what I came up with. Is in the very bottom of the bag is where our tent would stay. So the tent stayed in the bottom, and then right above the tent beside it is where I kept mess kit, and I kept our other cooking pan. And inside the cooking pan, this is important too, is don't leave anything big like this empty. So why don't you put something useful inside this? And we chose to. By the way, these titanium ones, you can boil like 32 ounces of water, and it only takes a couple minutes to actually bring it up to a boil. But make sure, so inside here was our cooking stove. So it spreads out. You screw it to the top of your can of gas. Soap to be able to wash your dishes and even wash yourself with it. And don't forget to take a rag along with you too, alright? So moving along, again, so the mess kit, these were 2 bowls, and for oatmeal, Andrew used one, I used the other, and then in the middle of this is a measuring cup. And it's good to have a measuring cup because a lot of your freeze-dried food tells you 2.5 cups of this and of boiling water to put into that. So along a handy mess kit, and just coming across, so next to those 2 things is where I kept, and there's more stuff into it now, but this was supposed to be for our swimming gear and towels, but we also ended up with a lot of other wet clothes that I ended up throwing in here at the end of the trip. So now I've come across, there was the tent, there was the 2 cooking items, and then a big heavy bag of clothes, and then there was Andrew's pillow, the pillow that I use. This pillow is really cool because you pull it up and it's actually just an empty pillowcase that's padded only on one side a little bit, and then you can just stuff some laundry inside it and to fill it up and make it stuffy. So that way you only carry something this big instead of something that's fully stuffed that's this big. So now we've come across the bottom, we've got all of our stuff. Here were my maps that stayed in my backpack the entire time. Never looked at my set of maps. But it's good that both of you have a set of maps should you get separated. Which, by the way, should you get separated, what do? Talk about it every morning. Talk about where you're going to go, where they might go to find some help. But remind your kid that if they get lost, to not move. Just hug a tree, stay still. Use the whistle. 3 blows for 3 seconds each, and do that over and over again until you finally get some help to come your way. So I had this, and this is what started out with all of my cooking items, including my mess kit and the titanium pan. But I found that having something a little bit smaller gave me more room to fit everything else in. So we had our coffee mugs, a sponge, again, trying not to leave anything empty that you can. A folding bucket if you want to wash your laundry in, or if you really want to do your dishes in that, but we didn't. And then it took us, for 4 days, we went through 1 full can of gas, and went through about a quarter of this. So for a 4-day hike, doing every meal with these. Every meal was cooked with at least boiling water. Take one, because each of these, this is only 1 to 2 hours, depending on how high you have it, all right? So take multiple of those, think through about how long it would take, and then in the top of the bag, which I could usually get through this way, so from the very top, let's do that. So what was in the very top? I had a pump that filters and pumps. Don't trust any water source when you're up in the wilderness. No, don't trust any source. This pump works great. It filters it both as the up pump and the down, on the upstroke and the downstroke. It pushes water. And then if I had a full water bottle that didn't clamp on the sides, I usually kept it in the top too. This was the sack that we hung in the tree every single night. We also did the cooking kit because it sometimes would smell like oatmeal or whatever. But so there's the carabiner, and it would just hook on the paracord that was hanging between the trees. Inside here, though, it's also really important to use some of the odor repellent bags. So, for example, our snack bag, which ended up, no, this isn't the snack bag, this is our trash at the end of the week. Of course you pack it in, you pack it out, But even your trash, it smells attractive to bears, so get it in a sealable bag. But what most of these trash bags are by meals. Every meal that we had, so this said Friday dinner, and it obviously had more than just these things in it. And this was leftovers from Saturday's breakfast. So every meal we had individually wrapped. Most of our meals we used the Mountain House or other freeze-dried stuff. By the way, it turned out pretty tasty, but every meal in its own little bag. But then you would take a series of those bags and seal them up to make sure that they remain odor-proof. And then we used a separate plastic bag to keep our spoon, fork, and knife. However, we only used our spoons the whole time. Oh, beautiful find. Find a place that sells lemonade by the gallon and ask them to let you purchase just the bag. So you could go when you get to a water source, when you're at your camp. When you know where you're going to camp, while you're setting up camp, slip away, go get some water, fill up all of your water bottles, and fill up one of these. One that seals, because you don't want open water waiting overnight, because that attracts mosquitoes. But you can fill this, and then only bring to your campsite purified water. That way you don't have to boil anything, you don't need to worry about it. All of it has been pumped through a filter, and it's good to go. These little bags, so that you fill it up with water, and then, and then in the morning when you're all done, when you get it all for cooking, use it to top off your water bottles, and you're probably good to go for the day. And then this thing rolls up really, really small, and most of the time did not spend its time in my meal bag, or my food bag, but I would do it again just because it seemed more logical for me to keep this here than loose somewhere else where I might not find it. But to do over again, I might keep it up with the pump. In fact, I might even put it in the pump bag, but not totally sure about that. Again, we actually end up with a few snacks left over. We even have some ice cream left over, so you want to come even our toothbrush and toothpaste. Keep it inside an odor-proof bag because the smell of toothpaste, it's rather attractive to the really big critters that you don't want in your camp. I think that's a pretty legit rundown of everything that I had in my bag, everything that we had in Andrew's bag for this trip. So, hiking the PCT with the 9-year-old, that's how we did it.